Okay, so over lockdown I had gotten really into vinyl. And it's taken up more of my life than I thought it would. By no means is it like a weird or a sad hobby. I think it's a great thing to do, but I will say it's a hobby that I am really weird and sad about. So what better place to talk to people about it than the internet, because I feel like I've bored all my friends. I've run out of people to talk the ear off of. So I'm just going to run through some of my records. I can't go through everything I own today because we'll be here for weeks. Not because I've got loads, but because, as we've established, I'm weird and sad. But first things first, this is my turntable. This is an Audio-Technica LP3. If you're looking into your like first turntable, you've probably seen the Audio-Technica LP60 around, and you've probably also seen the LP120, I believe. I'll put it here if I'm wrong. This is like one above the LP60 but one below the LP120. I think it's really good. I think it's a really good first turntable. I've just got some bookcase speakers from Amazon. I'd recommend this over the LP60 if you're able to upgrade, just because every part of it is replaceable. So if you've got issues with the counterweight and all that jazz. But we won't go into that today because today is about the music. I've put them into piles around me, so hopefully I can show you them in some kind of good order. Also, I don't know if it has to be, I mean, you're looking at a record collection video, so I don't know if I need a disclaimer, but it's not some kind of weird flex. I just really like these albums. It's not like I've bought a Tesla. Logically, we'll start with the very first record I bought, and that is Cloudy by Joan. If you don't know Joan, they're an indie pop two-piece from America, and this is such a good EP. It's got one of my all-time favourite songs on it called Magnetic. It's called Cloudy, and also I like this a lot because the record, wait for it, I think I should have saved best till last, but the record is Cloudy Blue. And look at that, it's Cloudy Blue, amazing. So this is great, this is limited edition. I don't know to how many copies, to be honest, but I got it from the web store last year. Everyone listen to Joan. They've got great songs. Magnetic. Next we have My Pride and Joy. My favourite. My child. It's the Tron soundtrack. This by Daft Punk. This was a record store day release last year, and I got it off eBay. Okay, and I got it for 65 quid, which you could, for some people, you could say is extortionate for a record. Make your own mind up about that, but I got it for 65 quid. 2 weeks later, what happens? Daft Punk break up, don't they? And so this thing is like skyrocketed, so I have like 2 plastic cases for it because I'm a paranoid weirdo. But the Tron soundtrack I am obsessed with. They've got this song called Durez, which is just like the inside of my brain. I've loved this since I've watched Tron. And I watched Tron because I was going to go on the Tron ride at Disneyland. And then since going on the Tron ride, I've just been so obsessed with it. It's just influenced so much, and it's just so good. I can't speak too much about like Tron the film, but I would say it's a good music video for this album. Translucent, I want to say, Translucent Blue. It's incredible and it sounds really good too. Sticking with Daft Punk, we have Random Access Memories, which I've been in love with for years. It's got it all. My favourite song is Instant Crush, just because it's devastating. Sad vocoder robot. Everyone knows this album. I was so upset when they broke. I mean, I was happy that my vinyls were worth more money, but I was very upset when they broke up because I just love Daft Punk, you know. Yeah. So if you only really know Get Lucky, listen to Instant Crush and then like listen to the rest and you will thank me forever. On a similar note, this soundtrack, the Drive soundtrack, influenced so much of my music taste. Like I always loved electronic music, and I've loved like indie electronic music and pop music. But watching this film, I did film at uni, not that that's relevant, but seeing this film with a score and then some of the songs like Night Call, Under Your Spell, like those songs, incredible. I just remember watching it. It was the first time I watched something and I thought, what is this music? please inject it into my veins. Every time I listen to the soundtrack, I just like drink it. I eventually bought it off Depop for like 20 quid, which isn't bad. But the pièce de résistance, my friends, the vinyl itself, neon pink. My favourite band is Bastille. So this one is All This Bad Blood. It's it's kind of a reissue. So they released the album Bad Blood, which is the one with Pompeii on it that everyone knows, and Flaws, Laura Palmer. This is the deluxe edition, which they only released on vinyl for Record Store Day last year. I got this off eBay for 19 quid. And it was in like November, December. So happy. So it's a double. One record is Bad Blood, so the album with Pompeii, Things Lost in the Fire, Laura Palmer, the one that came out in 2013, amazing. Record 2 is All This Bad Blood, so it's just like, it was all their B-sides up until that point, and this is so good. I feel like people don't give Bastille enough of a chance. Like, people who listen to them love them and they get it, and then everyone else kind of knows their singles, or they know Bad Blood, but they haven't really like delved in. If you think you know Bastille, I'd say just listen to All This Bad Blood, like the second disc, because they're more experimental stuff. I think up until now, everything they've done has been very like streamlined, and when they've done things that are a bit more experimental, it's been their side projects, but the side projects aren't the ones that people know. So give some of this stuff a listen, and then it's such a good way into Bastille, because I feel like they've got something for everyone. And we have Bastille's second album, my favourite by them by a mile, and maybe my favourite album of all time, if not with another album I'll talk about in a bit. So good. It's a really long album, but don't be put off because it's so varied. It's hard to explain what it's about. It's about being at that age where you're realising how terrible the world can be, the burdens that come with it, but finding the people to experience it with and seeing beauty in that, which sounds so pretentious, and I've just made that up now, but I've listened to this album a lot and I think that's the gist of it. And I think there's something in Bastille's work for everyone, and I think they hit really good themes, but I just wish more people would listen to their albums. Which brings me to their last album, Doom Days. This took me so long to get into, and Bastille are my favourite band, so for me to say that, it's actually really good. I didn't really listen to it properly until I got it on record, so I'd listened to some of the songs individually, and there were some I really liked, but I mainly bought it out of solidarity, which I don't really do. I only really buy albums I love, but I listened to it, and it's so good. It's a apocalyptic house party, which is all I'll tell you about it, and it comes on yellow vinyl. So I watched a couple of these in preparation, and a lot of people had like a theme to their music taste, but I don't know. Maybe you'll pick a theme. But next I have Calvin Harris, Funk Wav Bounces Vol 1, which I struggle to say without laughing because it's just, yeah, this is a great album. The people that he's worked with, he worked with Frank Ocean, Migos, Party Next Door, Young Thug, Pharrell, Ariana Grande, Khalid, Travis Scott, Snoop Dogg, John Legend, Nicki Minaj, you know, Katy Perry, Big Sean, Kalani. So many good people on one album. It's great. I think it's a masterpiece. Also, this is on, I'm showing my age, it's a double LP and 180 grams and it's 45. Oh my god, this sounds incredible. This is the best sounding record I have. It's so crisp, and because of the length of the album, there's only like 2 songs per side. It's such a clean sounding record. Listen to this album. There's no one I wouldn't recommend this to because it's so good. It's so good. So we've got Dirty Computer, so Janelle Monáe's third album. I've loved it since the first album. Just, I feel like I'm revealing how much of a hipster I am. I've loved it since Tightrope, but she just keeps outdoing herself, doesn't she? But here she is, and this album is cool because A, translucent yellow vinyl, amazing, and B, see this cover, it's lenticular, so let me just, I could be here all day. So speaking of strong women, which I'm aware is a terrible segue, I've got Emotion by Carly Rae Jepsen. Anyone who's on Reddit, anyone who's on Twitter, anyone who likes pop music knows how much of a kind of iconic album, I could argue, this is. So good. Pop music like really shifted after this. I don't even have a favourite song on the Standard Edition. There's one song I don't like on Deluxe, but we don't talk about Black Heart. If you don't think you'll like Carly, I would say listen to a song called All That. She produced it with Dev Hynes, or Blood Orange, as he's also known. So good. This woman means business, you know? She knows her pop music. And I'd also recommend listening to maybe Boy Problems if you like 80s pop. If you like really straightforward 80s pop, catchy. Yeah. I just love Carly. I'm like disproportionately and weirdly obsessed with Carly Rae Jepsen in a way that only the internet relates to. And then I go into the real one, people are like, what, her? So yes, her. Listen to her album. Great stuff. She makes me happy. Similar-ish, I've got Foxes, Glorious. Foxes has kind of like a cult following, which is the best I can. This album is so beautiful. I listened to this when I was a teenager, like on the way to college on the bus when I was stressed. Really hard to find. It took a lot of eBay searching and months to pin this down for a decent price. I think they only made, the internet says they only made a few hundred copies, but I don't know about that. But I would say listen to Talking to Ghosts. I think that's a really weird song. And I think she's got a lot of weird songs on here, like White Coats, you know, if the men in white coats are still coming, would you still be there for me? What a weird song. Just really good stuff, and I think it's a beautiful album. It's such a shame she never released a second album on vinyl, because I would have got that. And yeah, it's just beautiful, weird, indie pop music. I love her. I love Foxes so much. We're still in the pop sphere. I hope you can see that there's some kind of like formula to what I'm showing you. At least, basically, I've put them in loose piles, and I'm just taking them from the piles. I'm ruining the magic for you. But I've got Charlie Puth, Voice Notes, which is a great album. Great album. It's that kind of like pop, R&B, New Jack Swing. So, and there's also some James Taylor is on this record too. It's so cohesive. Like, it's such a good, solid album, and he worked so hard on it. Charlie. I remember when I first discovered this a couple of years ago. I found Attention, and I was like, this is Charlie Puth. I think everyone had the same reaction. This is Charlie Puth? The See You Again guy? What? This is what he's capable of? I just listened to it like top to bottom, top to bottom. It's like no skips. Sometimes I'll skip the Boyz II Men song if I'm not in the mood for it, but usually no skips. The only thing about this record is, great album, almost designed for vinyl. Terrible pressing, like trash. It's so crap. It's like, I don't know if it's my individual record, could be all of them, but it's such a rich album, and it's such a, I think they should have put it on a similar kind of vinyl to the Calvin Harris record, because production wise you can kind of compare the two, both really rich, but they put it on this like flimsy, I can't, it's just not good. And I listened to, and there's so much of it is buried. Like, I've tried like changing settings on my speaker, but nothing. It's still okay, but it's not any better than like listening if I hooked up Apple Music to my speakers, which makes me so sad because this has so much potential. So I'm just praying that he does some kind of like anniversary release at some point, because it's such a waste that they've just, I feel like they've just gone for the cheapest one, which is really sad. But if someone, by some miracle, someone watching this has this album, let me know how it sounds. I don't know if it's just me. Yeah, so sad. I'm sure I'll live. Moving on, a couple of albums from the same year. 2013, great year for albums for people of a certain generation. We've got Lorde, Pure Heroine. Lorde is 2 weeks younger than me, so I feel her on a deep level, and I'm so glad that I discovered this when I was, like, when it came out. Again, I'm showing my hipster, I'm sorry, I have to stop. But I love this album. It really captures how it feels to, that kind of fish out of water feeling that you get as a teenager, but the irony is every teenager feels that way, but she's captured it so well. And I've got Melodrama there. I don't know if you can see it. If you've listened to Melodrama, you know how great it is. I don't need to preach to the choir. And then next up, Crawling Back to You, AM. I feel like everyone has to own this album. I love this album. I think it was in the background of my last video. Great album. It's one of those everyone owns, and I'm happy to own it. And I guess it's the album that rejuvenated just the vinyl industry in general, you know. Maybe I wouldn't even be here today if it wasn't for AM, you know. No skips, though depending on mood, I might like flip it over before #1 Party Anthem and then start it on Why Do You Only Call Me When You're High. But that's just a mood thing. I only got this last week. I think it's because, and I've always loved this album, I think it's just because I prioritised like the harder to find ones, and then it got to a point where I found this difficult to find under a certain price. I don't know why, but I got it and I'm so happy I do. So while we're here, I have Submarine. How adorable, little 10-inch record. So it's Alex Turner's solo EP for the film Submarine. It's adorable. It's like his acoustic-y guitar stuff, goes so well with the film. What I've said to my friends countless times is, you know when someone is dating like a bit of a knobhead or like a bad boy, and then you say, listen, Sarah, why are you going out with him? And Sarah says to you, but he's different around me. That's this album. So this next section, I'm gonna call miscellaneous, but really it's just what I have left on the piles around me. Clairo, Immunity. I love this album so much. It's so delicate, and it's like it just perfectly captures when you're that age. You're like early 20s, late teens, where everything feels like a big deal. Not in like a laud sense, but in a every moment with a certain person feels big. Every decision you make feels big when it's just these like tiny pockets of your life, you know? And she's just got no like bravado behind her, and it's so her song, she sings almost like a whisper, and I know that she had that song Pretty Girl. Oh, God, I sound so I live up north, so when I say words like this I always think I sound ridiculous when I speak, but she has this song called Pretty Girl, and it was just like bedroom pop PC type music. But this album she made with Rostam, and he did such a good job. Love it. Oh, and we have a tattoo in the same place, look at that. But next up we have the Wombats. Really good album. It's my favourite one by them. 10 out of 10 album. Anyone who I know who likes the Wombats knows how good this album is. I went on this tour, I went to see this tour twice, and it was 2 great gigs. I went to one in Birmingham, rough as hell, like I thought I was gonna die on the barrier. And then I went to one in Liverpool, which was so much fun. So this record isn't too hard to find, but I wanted the pink version. That's cool, isn't it? That's cool. That's a good colour. Another Liverpool band, the Liverpool band, the Beatles, Abbey Road. I only got this recently, and it's my first Beatles album. I don't know why. My whole family liked the Beatles, but my twin sister, she was like obsessed. She still loves them so much, but growing up, she had t-shirts, she had books, she had all, like, most of the CDs. I think she even had a Beatles vinyl, even though we didn't have a record player at the time. And she taught me everything I know, so, you know, props to you, Jenny. This is my favourite Beatles album, and it just brings me back to being a kid and my sister putting the CD on at night time. Because what we do is we and Benny used to collect CDs. I'd be into my indie bands, and we'd sometimes play my stuff, and she'd be into like the Beatles. And if we put like Abbey Road on at night time, I could just fall asleep. So by the time we hit Golden Slumbers, I'd hit the hay. As amazing and iconic as every song on this album is, that second half, like what a piece of music. The fact that it starts with Here Comes the Sun and that medley, incredible. Oh, another old-ish record. This is actually a second-hand edition of Cat Stevens' Teeth of the Tillerman. I adore this. I got this off eBay for like a tenner or something, I don't know. It's got Wild World on here, it's got Father and Son on here, Sad Lisa. My dad's a massive Cat Stevens fan. Like growing up in the car, he would listen to so much Cat Stevens, and he'd sit me down and he'd explain to me what his interpretations of the song are. And there's just not a point in my life where I didn't know the words to Wild World. Like, what a song. Like, the man is a genius. There's just something really comforting, and this album just feels like home. My dad listens to a lot of music, and growing up he played us a hell of a lot of music, but Cat Stevens is like the one artist that really got me. I don't know, I think that his lyrics just stayed with me and they never left me. I read a tweet, I'm not even on Twitter, but I read a tweet from Dan, of all the people, from Bastille, and he said that his mum used to play a lot of Cat Stevens growing up, and that Wild World feels like a lullaby. That's the only way that I can explain what listening to this feels like. Yeah, and I knew I wanted this on vinyl as soon as I started collecting, and I'm really glad I have like it's really like crackly. It makes me happy. It just feels like I'm stepping back in time. Yeah. And I think I'll finish on my Taylor Swift albums. So I've got Lover, I'll start with. Such a pretty record. This was a gift from a lovely, lovely friend of mine, and I'm so grateful because it was such a sweet gift. Okay, I like this album. Enough to have on vinyl, but as in terms of eras, it's not my favourite Taylor Swift era. I think that she's capable of more, and I have controversial opinions. But today's not that day. However, there are some songs I do go back to a lot here. Cruel Summer, Jack Antonoff, at his finest. I really like Cornelia Street. I really like Death by a Thousand Cuts. Those songs I listen to regularly. So I think it's a really pretty album, but we know Taylor is capable of more. Which brings me to terrible segue, number 2, Folklore and Evermore. Woo! I think we were all shocked when she dropped this. Like, and I love Taylor, and I always have. So this is the standard one. Whoops! On the beige pressing, which is so cool. Yeah, Folklore, love it. I just love the fact that she went and just made an album with Aaron Dessner from The National. Of course you do. Doesn't get more serious than that. Beautiful stuff, you know. I really like the Cardigan, Betty, August trilogy. I thought that was so well done. Like, she's just proven herself as a really good storyteller. Like, we all know that she can write about her own life well, but she did such a good job. I would compare August to the Cranberries. So if you know the song Linger, if you really like August, give the Cranberries a listen, because it's in that realm. Betty, if you like Tracy Chapman, Baby Can I Hold You, that kind of thing. Not comparing the two very different women, but it's in that kind of realm, and I think that if you kind of go into the influences of any album, it just opens the door to so much more music, which I hope people have done. I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have. And then finally Evermore, which, if I could describe this, I would describe it as biting into like a sweet, crisp green apple, you know, like a cold one. It's not sour, it's a little sweet, just perfect, you know, that delicious. Oh, just right, just what I need. Oh, good job, Taylor, good job. My favourite songs are Long Story Short and 'Tis the Damn Season. I can listen to this whole thing top to bottom though, great stuff. So yeah, I'll leave you there because I've been talking for an hour. I hope that someone's enjoyed this, or I don't know if it's insightful for you, but I enjoyed myself. And I haven't even gone through half my records. I'm sure there'll be a part 2, but if you've watched this far, thank you. Let me know what you think of any of these albums, or recommend albums to me, because I'm always looking for new music. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one, whatever kind of video that would be. Thank you. I appreciate you.